Hey, it's time for part 3. We're gonna make some angel wings. If you haven't seen part 1 and 2, I will link them in the description box below. In part 3, we are using a palette knife to paint the angel wings onto the canvas. This creates a lovely 3D effect. It's also called impasto. Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of future videos. This is what our wings are going to look like. So this was my practice run. This is on canvas, primed canvas. This I just did with normal modeling paste, and I mixed in some of the champagne all-purpose ink. I like the texture of it, but there was definitely not enough shimmer. I either did not put enough of the all-purpose ink in, or the modeling paste was too thick and overwhelming when I mixed it in. So I found this one, Iridescent medium. This is super shiny medium that you actually mix with acrylic paints to make them iridescent, but I'm going to mix it with the modeling paste today. So this is what we are aiming for. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put this aside and we're going to work on our canvas. The wings I'm using as a reference are these. I printed these a tiny bit bigger. Okay, so I'm using them as a reference, and the reason why I loved these wings that she drew is that I just absolutely loved the placement of the feathers. When you work on a smooth surface, it is much easier to get the shape of the feathers with the modeling paste and stuff. So on a thick background like this, it's going to be a little bit more tricky, but you will be able to do it. So just to give myself an idea of how big the wings are, and so that I get them sort of the same, I did go, this is a 6B pencil, and I just very lightly did the outline, just the outline, and I'm going to have them lying next to the side so I can just basically see the shapes of the feathers. What I'm going to do first is just mix some iridescent into the modeling paste. This is the Reeves modeling paste and iridescent medium. Okay, now what you need to make these, and they're not difficult, you'll see now they're really not difficult, but you need to practice them first. So that's why I did a practice sheet, and that is on canvas, so they did come out fairly nice, so I can use them again. You can practice it on a piece of paper, you can practice it in an art journal, you can keep it, you can throw it away. Before you go and work on your canvas that you spend so much time on the background, first go and practice it on a separate piece of paper. So I've got these 3 palette knives. You do get the plastic ones. I just like the give of the metal ones a little bit better, but if you've got the plastic ones, they are fine too. And if you don't have that, the back of a spoon or a fairly small teaspoon will give you sort of the same effect, or a butter knife, something with a rounded edge. If it has a little bit of give, it's going to be easier to see what you have, even if you take a credit card. Okay, even if you take this and you cut it with a rounded edge like this, you cut a piece with a rounded edge, you'll be able to use that as well, because this has got a little bit of give. You are going to need a thick paste. So you can either use the modeling paste that we used on the background. I'm using a modeling paste that's a little bit more runny. No specific reason, it's just what I started playing with today. You can also use a texture paste. This is quite a thick texture paste, but once you start mixing something into it, it will be a little bit easier to work with, like the impasto paints or the Dina Wakley paints. They are thick enough so that when you work with them, they will leave texture and they will actually hold their peak. So we're going to start with a nice amount of modeling paste. I'm going to mix iridescent medium into that, and that's just because I don't want it flat white. I want a little bit of color to it. So that's why I'm mixing iridescent medium into it. And like I said, if you don't have iridescent medium, you can use a metallic ink or a metallic paint, Sparks paint, something like that you mix into your modeling paste. If you have the right color in a mica powder, you can mix mica powder into your modeling paste. When you start forming the feathers, we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up, because the way you do this is the shape of the palette knife. I'm going to show you off to the side here. As you put it down and drag, that creates that rounded edge. So you're going to pick up a little bit, you're going to put it down and drag, and that's what gives you that rounded edge. If you start from the top and you put down and drag, you're going to drag through one of the rounded edges that you just created. So that's why you start at the bottom and you work your way up into this area. And that's why I had to just draw the outlines very lightly in pencil so that I know exactly the shape and size of the wing. The thinner you want the tip, the smaller your palette knife tip needs to be. So that's why I have 3 different ones here. You'll see they're all 3 different sizes, and I'm going to start with this tiny small one. I'm going to work my way up. I'm picking up, putting it down to the side, and I'm just creating a rounded edge, just like that. Put it down and drag. Okay, and don't do this slowly. You need to commit. When you put it down and drag, you need to commit. So this one has a little bit less give. Don't pick up too little, but also not too much. Okay, I'm gonna do this one here. So I'll just make sure I've got a little blob there. I put the blob down and I drag. So that's one wing done. Now what I want to stress is when you work on the second wing, don't refer back to this wing. Refer back to your reference, okay? Because you will not, no matter what you do, you will not get both wings the same. You will not get the same amount of feathers in there. It is important that you just keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do now is I've got this little bag here. I'm going to take this extra bit of paste. I'm going to put it in here. And what I did is I cut off one of the little corners. I'm just going to add some accents. Squeeze and drag. Squeeze and drag. And that just gives you these little bits of added flair. So that's the wings done. It's not difficult. You just need to go and practice it a little bit. This needs to dry overnight because it needs to be rock hard before we paint over it and before we add any foiling to this. There we go. There's our wings. If this is properly dry, I will add a little bit more color to the wings and then also some gold foiling.
I hope you try out some palette knife techniques. Stay tuned for part 4. We are playing with gold foil. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell to get notifications for future videos.
You